To get started, my name is Maribel Cruz. I'm the Associate Director with ÓRALE, and tonight we're here to talk about what the Trump presidency is going to mean for immigrant communities in the months to come specifically. This is the first of many videos and gatherings that we will host as we're prepping our community folks for these anticipated changes. However, one of the things that we do want to emphasize is that we need power, not panic. That is the message that we want to leave all of you with tonight, and the importance of organizing locally. If you are a follower of ÓRALE, you know the important work that we're doing in the Long Beach, Wilmington, and South Bay areas. And so we're going to talk about that work and how you can be involved in the organizing that needs to be done in order to be working hand in hand with immigrant communities. Please make sure to follow ÓRALE on IG and FB, Facebook. Share this video with anyone who may need this information. There will be a video before this in Spanish, so if you know of anyone that needs this information in Spanish, please share it. I'm here tonight with a lot of folks that are doing amazing work in the community, and I'm so happy to be with you all tonight. Want to thank them for spending their evening here with me. And to set the scene, we want to know what is happening, what happened, and how is that going to impact immigrant families. And for this, I'm going to hand the mic over to Gabby. Gabby, if you can introduce yourself and give us a landscape picture of what it is that we're working against.
Yes. Hi, Maribel, and hi, everyone. So happy to be here with you all. My name is Gabi Hernandez. My pronoun is she, her, ella, and I serve as Executive Director for ÓRALE. And what we have been talking about is that we've been here before, right? The elections happened. We got to see the results, and we're still trying to figure out what does it mean for the country, right? We know that the presidential race, we know who the winner is, and now we're just wanting to make sure that we provide the information that people need so that we're not creating panic. They've made a lot of promises. Their whole campaign was run with the platform of deporting folks, right? Mass deportation. So really they ran on a platform that was to harm people and create family separation within our communities. They are going to vilify us. They're going to ridicule us. And so that's what they have been doing. That's their agenda. And we're here to ensure that, like, again, like Maribel said, that we're creating power with each other and not panic. Because ultimately we got each other. We truly, truly do. When folks are in danger, who shows up is community folks, right? And it's folks that are struggling to show up for each other. And so I just want to remind folks of what we may be facing, right? They ran on an agenda for mass deportation. And so the criminalization of immigrants is going to continue to intensify. And earlier, we were asking folks, and folks were asking us, what qualifies someone as someone that has a criminal record? And unfortunately, because we live in the US and we live under an administration that wants to criminalize our folks, it doesn't really matter how small the crime could have been. It's something that they are labeling us as a whole just because of one simple mistake that could have happened in the past, right? And so I think it's just to say that they really want to criminalize all of us, right? Just for being here and trying to seek better opportunities for ourselves. And I think let's not forget that the reason why we are here, a lot of our communities are here in this country, is because the US has been and put their hands in our country, in our countries of origin. And so it's no mystery that we make it out here, right? We are coming here because of necessity and because the US has been involved in political landscapes in our own home country. So that's the reason why we're here, right? So it's really ironic for them to say, go back, when you're creating the situations and the circumstances for us to migrate. We also want to emphasize that what we could potentially see happening, especially with the appointees that he's put in place, is maybe more deportations, right? More detention. And so I think one thing that we do want to echo, that partners are at our DWN local partners here are saying, right? Let's make sure that we're pushing the Biden administration to shut down some of these detention centers. Let's make it harder for Trump to do what they're saying to do, right? And so let's make sure that we're pushing for that. And that's really going to be the work that we're going to be invested in, is to ensure that we're closing down those detention centers. They're also promising a lot, and they don't have the infrastructure that, as we know right now, for them to actually take place and deport 11 million of us, right? They can barely handle the little that they are doing right now. And so there's no way that they have the infrastructure from one day to the next. And so I also want to make sure that we're not creating panic in that way, in that they don't have the infrastructure right now to do it first day in, right? That doesn't mean that they're not going to try. So I don't want to diminish that, right? They're definitely going to try, but I think having a solidified front and being in solidarity with each other is really what's going to make the difference, right? And really doing this work locally. So we know at the federal level, they're failing us. They're doing this in a very designed way and on purpose. And so it's really going to be a matter of like local resistance and pushing back and saying, no, you don't get to take immigrants from our city. You don't get to take folks from our state, right? And this is for everyone all over the country, right? That it is really going to take all of us and our neighbors to protect one another. And so that's what we're here to also talk about. And then lastly, I just want us to remind ourselves that really abolition is the end goal for all of us, right? That we really want the system to not exist, the detention centers to not be something that we have to worry about, and for the immigration system to not work as designed. And so we're here today to provide some of the resources that we currently have. We've been working on this, right? It's 4 years ago, we didn't have much, and now we've been able to work to have some of the systems that we have in place. So we're not ready, right? We have been preparing for something like this. And so I just want to make sure that we remember that, right? That we got each other, and that it's really going to take community folks to do and build local resistance to ensure that we're keeping immigrants safe. So thank you for being here today and showing up. And I'll pass it over to you, Maribel.
Thank you, Gabby. For the folks that are just tuning in via IG, please enter any questions that you have on the chat. We will try to answer as many as possible. Please note that we will not be answering specific case-related questions, as we want to keep people's privacy, private, and we will be answering general questions. Please share this video. It's going to have a lot of important information, specifically for folks who live in the South Bay region. I want to just emphasize that we need power, not panic. This is a saying that came out of 2016. Organizers have been doing the work for decades, and we saw the power in 2016, and now we have to dust off those handbooks, those organizing plans that we had for a bit under the Trump presidency, and utilize them again. And there's a role for everyone, and you'll learn more about that as a role as an ally, as an impacted person. And so in order to talk about community power and power building, I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic to our community organizer, Denise. Denise, welcome. Thank you for being with us tonight. Can you go ahead and let folks know why is power building so important locally?
Hi, everyone. Like I said, my name is Denise Tapia, and I am community organizer here with ÓRALE. I want to talk about the importance of building power in our communities, mainly because it works. When we have power, we're able to pass legislation and ordinances that benefit us and that help us. A great example of that we'll talk about later is the Long Beach Justice Fund. But there's also a lot of other things that we're working for together, such as anti-surveillance, to make sure that our communities aren't being watched by this new technology that's emerging. So different ways to keep ourselves safe. And there's a lot of ways that immigrant communities can participate in this advocacy. So that's anything from showing up to city council. We've had a lot of people do that for Long Beach Justice Fund, and that's why it was successful. So we really have a lot of examples of ways that we've shown up to this and made a difference. And we can continue doing that even under this administration. And I'm here to help y'all out. I have Leadership Academy that I run, and that's a way to grow your knowledge, be more politically involved. And that's just one of the ways that you can get more tools to either be part of an organization or organize yourself as well. So there's a lot out there, and reach out to me, reach out to our org if you are interested and want to grow your skills more.
Thank you, Denise. I have placed on the screen our office number and our general email if you all have any questions or want to reach out. This is a time to connect with your local organizations. I know a lot of you probably aren't within our region, which is perfectly fine. A lot of the information that we're going to touch upon is actually applicable to people all over the state of California. So, but I do encourage folks to look at their local immigrant justice organizations and connect with them, connect with partners. There's already so many amazing people doing such great work out there that that this is the time to connect. If you're in the South Bay region, in Long Beach, in Wilmington, connect with Órale. Follow us on all social media. We're here to make this a powerful statement to the Trump presidency that united, we will not be defeated. And how can we start? We start locally. We start with your own city council, with your council members, lobbying, all these organizing strategies. This is something that you can do now and prep to do in 2025. This is where we need allies and directly impacted folks to step up and go into their power and not panic. I want to go ahead and talk about what a lot of people want to know about the legal implications of the Trump presidency, specifically speaking about undocumented folks or immigrant folks who may have questions about their cases or any foreseeable opportunities to adjust their status. For this, I want to welcome one of the attorneys that we've worked with for many years. She's done workshops with us, Know Your Rights workshops. So I'm so happy to have her with us tonight. Sabrina, please let folks know who you are and what the legal landscape looks like under a Trump presidency.
Yeah, thank you, Maribel, and thank you everyone at ÓRALE for organizing this space for us and for inviting me to be here tonight. I'm Sabrina Rivera. I'm an assistant clinical professor at Western State College of Law. It's a law school in Irvine, and I'm also the director of the Immigration Clinic. We provide pro bono legal assistance, and our main model is that law students provide direct representation to community members pro bono and under the supervision of an attorney. And so, a lot has already been provided to everyone here tonight about what the landscape is going to look like when we have the new president take power on January 20th. But it's important to remember what the current legal landscape looks like, right? And right now we have to remember that we still have the same president, right? We still have President Biden who is in power. We have Vice President Kamala Harris. And so not a lot has changed yet, right, since the actual election results. The laws are still the same. The policies are still the same. But like others have said earlier, there's potential for a lot of changes, right, to be planned now and maybe even implemented by Biden before he leaves, right? So there's still things that can be done now. And like Gabby said earlier, we already knew what the administration had planned. They ran a campaign on it. They were very clear about what their priorities would be, and people voted for it. And so that's where we're here tonight. And that means also, I want to remind everybody that, we're still looking at the election results for Congress, but it looks like the Republicans will also going to take power, right, over Congress, which means the president's going to have more power to pass laws and execute them as he sees fit. It's also important to remember what the Trump officials that he's appointing now, like Gabby said, they are already going out in public, right, talking to the news media and saying what their priorities are. And one of the groups of people they're prioritizing are immigrants with criminal histories. And so we can talk more in a bit about what that means, right? What does it mean to have a criminal history and what can you do there? But also they're prioritizing people who have recently arrived to the United States, asylum seekers at the border. And they've also said that they want to also conduct more workplace raids, which is, again, these are priorities that they've been wanting to do since even their first administration. It doesn't mean they're going to happen overnight, right? Like Gabby said earlier, it's going to take time. So this campaign that they ran on, which is mass deportations, it's going to cost anywhere from $88 to $300 billion if they wanted to deport every person. So they're going to run into problems, right? The same ones that they ran last time. People are going to file lawsuits to stop what they want to do because they may be illegal or unlawful under the Constitution. But that's where we're at right now.
Thank you, Sabrina. I think that's super important to know. Please, folks, if you'll have general questions, put them in the comments. We will try to get to them as we approach the end of this video. Sabrina, can you tell me super briefly, is there anything that folks can do if they feel they have a potential criminal record or have had brushes with like police officers? What is it that they can do now in order to like be prepped for anything that may come?
Yeah, so if you've had any contact with law enforcement agencies, like that's police or any type of other agency, even if it never went to court, you probably want to get your background checks done, get a rap sheet with the state of California, run your fingerprints to see what the government's going to see. So if you are a priority for the government, the first thing they're going to do is pull your record. And so you just want to make sure you have a copy of whatever the government sees on their end. And we can talk more later about also how you can pool those records, that you don't need an attorney necessarily to get a copy of your immigration file with immigration or your criminal history as well. So you can do this on your own, and we can provide you resources on how you can do that.
Thank you, Sabrina. Just a reminder for folks, this is the first of many videos, in-person events that we will be hosting throughout the next couple of months. I think there's a lot of crucial information that our folks need. And so this is just the beginning. So if you have more questions and need more resources, don't worry, we're working on it. Trust us, we're working behind the scenes, making sure all this information is available to you all. Super briefly, Sabrina, because we do have a lot of followers that are DACA folks. They are documented. And so what is the advice right now for folks who have DACA? I know the fear of obviously the program ending is something that people are thinking about, but what is it that they can do right now in order to prep, or is there anything that folks can do?
Yeah, it's important to remember that DACA, right, was always something temporary, and so it's unfortunate that our worst, the worst case scenario of DACA is happening, which is that we have a president that wants to terminate it and has even tried to, right, in his first administration. So you can probably plan that he wants to, right, execute his plan from last time, and so I think the same thing that people have been doing, that they've been doing since forever, which is organizing, right? And it's what everybody's here is saying, is to connect with organizations that are advocating for change and to pass laws or local policies that can support people that have DACA. I know that I think there's been different efforts to pass different types of DACA, related protections, either on the state or federal level. So that's still a conversation I think we can continue to have in the future. But of course, we've also faced issues with that in the past. And I also quickly mentioned that DACA is not the only program that's going to most likely be moved to end. We also have the parole in place that the government has said is unlawful, that the Trump administration said is an unlawful, and the state of Texas and 13 other states have filed lawsuits to end it. We also have other parole programs that protect countries, like people from countries like the Ukraine or Afghanistan. So it's not just DACA he's coming after, right? The administration said that he wants to prioritize a lot of these parole programs.
Thank you, Sabrina. And, it's important to also acknowledge the fact that although ÓRALE, we do work with primarily Spanish-speaking Latina folks, immigration impacts everyone, right? From all across every nationality, ethnicity. So we want to definitely uplift the fact that we work with partners, with local partners here in Long Beach, like the Filipino Migrant Centers, UCC, with Cambodian folks. And this is something that we do want to uplift, that deportation and immigration affects so many other communities. And unfortunately, we've seen statistically that Black immigrants are the ones that are more harshly impacted by these racist laws and policies. And so we definitely acknowledge that. And we are working in coalition to ensure that, Black voices are uplifted. And so this is just the beginning, as I said. We do want to go ahead and work with partners down the line to make sure this information reaches as many folks as possible, because it is crucial. Thank you so much, Sabrina, for that information. Now, kind of continuing with this theme of power, not panic, one of the reasons that we like to say this is because we don't want our folks to be super stressed out, super anxious. That deregulates our nervous system, and we know the physical impacts of that. If you all have been in a stressful situation, you feel it in your body, and I think that's how a lot of us have felt in the last 2 weeks. We feel it in our body, but now is a moment for us to take a breath and really think about the power that we hold within. And that comes from a lot of information that we already have. We just have to kind of dig through our little tool of informations and be prepared to know what power and rights we have. And for this section, I want to bring over my colleague, Eric, who is our Director of Organizing and Programs. And so, Eric, if you can just introduce yourself and talk about the Know Your Rights information that is going to be so crucial for immigrant families.
Yes, thank you, Maribel. Hey, y'all, my name's Eric, he, him pronouns, or anything respectful, really, and I'm the Organizing and Program Director with órale. We have done these consistently, but I think with sort of tensions rising and anxieties rising, we do plan into the coming year to do more KYRs. And so if this is something you'd like to do for your neighborhood, for your school, please let us know, and we're happy to do that. But we're going to do a quick primer, and we're going to focus right now. We're going to focus on knowing your rights when interacting with ICE at your home. What happens when they knock on our door, and then we'll talk a little bit about workplace raids. And so what happens when ICE comes to the house and they knock? We don't have to open the door. Just like in any other circumstance or in any other situation, nobody has permission to enter, or nobody can enter your home without your permission. And so that applies to ICE and that applies to the cops. The only exception for them is if they have a court order signed by a judge, a judicial warrant. And if they do have that, usually what we see is that it's very rare for them to actually have a judicial warrant that can be actionable and signed by a judge. And so more often we see an administrative warrant or an administrative order from ICE, from the department itself. And so for whatever reason they do claim to have a judicial warrant that's signed by a judge, let's ask for them to pass that to us without opening the door. And so that can be done under the door. If you have a slot where your mail comes in, you can do it through there. If you have a window that they can press it against and then you can read it through the glass, we can do that too. And so it's important to verify. If they do have it, verify it without opening the door. If they don't have it, then we can refuse to let them in. And that's why it's very important to not open the door, because if they don't have it and we've already opened the door, we have had experiences where that can get a little tricky, and then they find their way inside anyway. And so if ICE is looking for someone else, you can ask that they leave their contact information with you. You don't have to tell them where to find that person, but you shouldn't lie. And so we can exercise our right to remain silent, and say, I have the right not to talk to you, and I'm not going to talk to you, or I won't talk to you. And it's important to practice vocalizing however it sounds good to you. At the end of the day, we want to say we're exercising our right to remain silent, and that is because we want to be able to vocalize it and make sure that there is no confusion about whether or not we try to exercise our rights. And we focus, as my colleague Maribel mentioned, and we like to practice this because it's very easy to, when our nervous system is deregulated, to forget what we know. And so unless you've practiced it, it's very easy when the time comes to forget to exercise and vocalize those rights. If ICE, for whatever reason, like we said, there have been instances where they've gained entry into your home. If ICE, for whatever reason, is already on the inside, it's important for us to vocalize that we do not give permission or consent for them to be in my home or to be in the house. And if they're already searching through your personal belongings, let's make sure we vocalize that we do not give consent or permission for them to be going through our personal belongings. It's important to understand that in practice, and theory, or in practice and writing, things can look very differently, including ICE acting completely outside of protocol or completely outside of their own regulations, let alone laws. And so it's important that even if they're already in the home and they're already looking through our stuff, that we vocalize and we are exercising our right to that we're not giving consent. Because if for whatever reason, whatever information or evidence is used in our cases, let's get a record, let's get an archive of the fact that we try to exercise our rights, they were violated, and so maybe there's a chance that evidence was collected unconstitutionally. And so let's record that and see if there's some sort of remedy down the line. And so I'll pivot a little bit now to workplace raids. And just like at the house or just like at home, ICE cannot enter without permission or a court order. ICE can only enter workplaces that other people, like the general public, could enter. And if we're using like a coffee shop or Starbucks, for example, if we're using a coffee shop, for example, ICE can enter where the general public, so that's where folks do homework, where I'm on the laptop, where I'm drinking the coffee. But they don't necessarily have a right to enter where the employees have their break room, for example, or where only the dishes in the back are being cleaned. That they would still need permission from the employer. And so it's also important to remind our employers that they also have rights, that they can also refuse entry to ICE without a court order that is actionable. And so it's important to stay calm, don't run, because ICE can use that as a evidence against you to arrest you. If you are detained for whatever reason, let's exercise our right to remain silent and ask to speak to an attorney. One thing that we also share as far as the workplace is concerned is that you can create, just like we can create solidarity with our employers and they can protect us to say, hey, don't give entry to ICE unless they have this warrant. We can also create solidarity with our colleagues who may or may not be undocumented. If ICE gains entry to a workplace, they have no way at first glance of being able to tell who is and who's not working lawfully, or who is or who's not undocumented. And so we can organize our colleagues in the workplace and say, hey, I, if for whatever reason ICE drops in on us, let's all exercise our right to remain silent, because then ICE got to do more work and they got to do their due diligence to really figure out who is and who is not, right? ICE's job is to deport us. Let's not make it easier for them. And so if we are in solidarity with our folks, like, let's not, when they ask you who's here is lawfully working, who is not, I'm exercising my right to remain silent, because they can't tell. And they will do anything to be able to make their jobs easier, because as our colleague Sabrina has mentioned, they don't have the resources to be able to identify every one of us and target every one of us. And so they will depend on, and they have said as much, that they'll depend on larger scale raids for this. And when that happens, let's build solidarity with our folks as well. And so if you're interested in getting, like, if this usually we'll do this content in about an hour and a half, 2 hours. If this is something that you're interested in, please feel free to hit us up.
Yes, thank you, Eric, so much for that information. Knowing our rights is also a community effort, because if you live in a household with like 5 people, 3 people, all of y'all have to be on the same page to not open that door, because it only takes one person to open that door and ICE will get in. So it is a community effort. The same goes for a workplace. As a customer, I can be in a lobby, but I can't go beyond a certain, like counter, beyond the register. It's a community effort to know our rights. So please, 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 connect with local organizations in your community. If you are not in the Long Beach, Wilmington, South Bay area, Orale has red Know Your Right cards that we can definitely hand out to folks who are interested and are here local. I will go ahead and put our office number and our email. If you are interested in this, please connect with us. We're happy to provide those cards to you all, specifically to the folks who have connections with the immigrant community in Wilmington, in Long Beach. If you work at a school, are part of a parent center, if if you have access to these areas of the community where folks need this information and you're in Long Beach and Wilmington, hit us up. We will go and do a Know Your Rights workshop for these folks. We will do it in English and in Spanish. We will be there and we will be providing this workshop to folks. We are also planning on doing some virtually in the year to come, so in a couple of months. So it will be accessible to folks. But if you're local, let's get these workshops into the schools that are local to Long Beach and Wilmington. Thank you so much, Eric, for that information. Um, Reminder, if you have any additional questions, I do see the questions in the chat. So thank you so much for those who have asked those in the meantime. Follow us on Instagram, on Facebook. We are here to answer questions or connect you with resources. If we don't have those resources, we can refer you over to folks who can help. And now that we know our rights, we know the political landscape, there are services and resources for undocumented folks. In order to talk about this, I'm going to bring a couple folks that we've worked with closely in the past couple of months. I'll start off with my colleague Kiabet, who will talk about the health resources that we have locally. So Kibeth, I'll pass the mic over to you.
Yeah, hi folks. My name is Kiabet Sanchez, pronouns she, her. I'm the Health Justice Manager here with ÓRALE. And so, yeah, today I'm here to talk about the health resources that specifically our undocumented folks can access. I think my colleagues have been great at sharing that at the moment nothing has changed, right? Our folks can still access these resources. An example is Medi-Cal. I think it's very important for folks to note that Medi-Cal is still accessible to income eligible folks independently of your immigration status, and nothing has changed. It also does not qualify as public charge if you do access this resource. And what I really want to highlight is we really don't want folks to disenroll from these programmings just because this new administration has come up. I think it's very important for our folks to feel empowered and to, make sure that they are getting the care that they need to go to the doctor, right? And be able to get that medical attention that's very much necessary. I think also highlighting the fact that everything that's going to have, it's also going to have physical impacts on our health. And, that's a very real thing that could potentially happen. And it's important for us to be protected. And one of those ways is making sure that we have access to health services. If for some reason folks do not qualify for Medi-Cal because of the income restrictions, there is another program that is currently has open enrollment, which is a Kaiser health and community health insurance program. This one ends enrollment January 31st. So it's important to note that enrollment does end January 31st. And this is specifically for folks who are undocumented and do not meet the income threshold. There are certain requirements additional to that, like not qualifying for any other type of insurance. And I'm sure we can connect you all with someone that can provide more in detail information as to what those qualifications are. But I think that's the main thing to note. So if you do not currently qualify for Medi-Cal and you're looking for another health insurance that you want to qualify for, I think it's great to know that this program is available for you all. Specifically, I would like you all to also develop that connection with the health department here in Long Beach. It's great that the health department is here. We have a great connection with them as an organization. And if y'all have any specific questions regarding your Medi-Cal or a Kaiser application, we can connect you all with these folks so that way they can help you all in every step of the way. We also plan to have a person in our office for the next 3 weeks on Mondays specifically to help with Kaiser enrollment for this program. So if y'all have questions, you can definitely reach out to me specifically so we can get you all in for an appointment in our office.
Thank you, Kibeth, for that information. As you all see on the screen, I have added Kibeth's email if you need contacts with the Medi-Cal team at the Long Beach Department, the Health Department, and also our phone number. I've also added the phone number for the team directly at the Health Department for Medi-Cal inscriptions. There's a lot of, thank you so much, Kibeth. There's a lot of opportunities a lot of undocumented folks don't know about, and one of those has to do in the realm of economic justice. If you follow ÓRALE, you've seen in the last year we've done such amazing work with building small entrepreneurs and building that immigrant power. And so I want to invite my colleague Jackie to jump on the screen and talk about the economic justice work that we are doing and how these resources are available to undocumented folks in spite of whatever administration is, in power. What are some of the resources that we have in that realm?
Yes. Hi, Maribel. Thank you, everybody. So yes, throughout the last year or so, we've been able to support our undocumented immigrant community in starting their own businesses, and I'm very proud of them, and they're all doing amazing work in getting things done in order to formalize their business. And if that's something that is interest and if an interest of yours, definitely message me, email me. You'll see my email on the screen. But I want to share that within current laws, our undocumented community is able to work as an independent contractor, and you can also actually start your own business to employ other undocumented community members, family, or friends that you want to go into business with. So you should not fear that you can't work through this avenue. So as an independent contractor, and if you're not familiar, an independent contractor is an individual who performs services but is not an employee. So essentially you get hired to produce a specific type of work for a determined time. So again, it's a different way of employment that that undocumented communities can access. Some things that you can do that I would recommend that you do is that if you don't already have an ITIN number, you definitely should seek support in getting an ITIN number. And if you need any support with that, I can direct you in that direction. And the second thing, again, if starting your own business sounds like something you want to do to support not just yourself, but others in your community, and getting some type of employment, is that you should become familiarized with the different types of business structures that exist, and start by drafting up a business plan. So there are resources through different websites. SBA is one of them, and I've actually added some drafts examples onto the drive there that you'll have access to. So please take a look at that. And then the last recommendation is, again, in the spirit of starting your business, you'd have to start by getting an EIN number as well. So again, there's resources in that drive that you can access. But if all of that sounds interesting to you, please definitely email me, and we're here to support folks that are ready to start their business. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie, so much for that information. I have added Jackie's email. If you know of any folks who are undocumented and want to start their own business and are ready to take that leap, please connect them with Jackie. We are working right now with the Long Beach population as of so far. We want to, grow our power and reach more communities in other areas. But for right now, it is Long Beach specific. So just wanting to share that with folks. Thank you so much, Jackie. Now, I want to introduce our guests from Immigrant Rising. Immigrant Rising is an organization that does such amazing work throughout the state of California and nationally, but they focus with education and what that means for undocumented folks. And so we have here tonight Rocio from Immigrant Rising. Welcome, Rocio, to our IG Live and Facebook Live. Can you please introduce yourself and let us know what resources and what support Immigrant Rising offers for undocumented folks?
Yeah, hi everyone. Good evening. Thank you all for joining us. My name is Rocio Preciado, and I'm the Career Pathways Innovation Strategist here at Immigrants Rising. And as Maribel mentioned, our efforts are to make sure that everyone, regardless of immigration status, is able to pursue a college degree and education, and that they're able to pursue a career. And we've been hearing a lot about all the different things that are happening, but also about the different resources that are available for undocumented community members. I myself was formerly undocumented. I came to the United States at the age of 9, and when I graduated from UC Santa Cruz, I was still undocumented. And the reason I mention that is because there are laws in California that allow people to be able to access in-state tuition. One of those laws was, believe it or not, passed in 2001, and it allows folks who meet certain educational eligibility requirements the opportunity to pay for in-state tuition and be able to afford a college education, whether that is at a community college, some technical school, or a four-year university. And in addition to that, there is what's called the California Dream Act. Now, this is a law that was passed in California in 2011. It is very different than DACA. And this law actually allows folks to be able to access state financial aid to be able to afford college. Now, one of the things that I like to emphasize is the contributions of the undocumented community. Sometimes there's a lot of questions around, well, how am I able to access all of these different benefits while I'm undocumented? And one of the things that I like to remind community members is that undocumented folks contribute to the economy. We contribute federal and state taxes. And even though we're not able to access federal benefits, we are able to take advantage of some of the state benefits that your state taxes contribute towards, which is one of the reasons why I want to encourage community members who are interested in pursuing an education to take advantage of laws like AB 540, as well as the California Dream Act, to be able to advance your career, your education, that can get you to that next stepping stone, to be able to generate additional income and have a better future for your life and for yourself. And you are able to access some of our resources at immigrantsrising.org. And I also included a comparison between the difference between AB 540, the California Dream Act, and DACA, so that you can be familiarized with the different opportunities and resources available to you. And again, I just want to emphasize, you do not need DACA work authorization or a social security number to be able to access in-state tuition or state financial aid here in California.
Thank you, Rocio. And, shout out to all the original student activists who made these wins possible in California. Decades ago, I was also a recipient, was very fortunate to benefit from AB 540 while I was in school, as many folks here on this panel are as well. So shout out to all those folks that worked super hard and, did direct action to make that happen. I think we need to acknowledge the work that went into it. And now we just build upon that, right? We build upon everything that we've worked through every single year. And so shout out to those folks. Many of them follow us on IG. And so happy to, shout them out for a bit. Thank you so much, folks, for sharing the resources. Now, I want to shift a little bit to talk about a very Long Beach specific resource that we have. This is a resource that anyone with strong ties to Long Beach can take advantage of. So I really want to make that very specific because we already heard from Sabrina about the legal landscape and the need to have a lot of maybe reach out to attorneys, organizations, but Long Beach is very unique in large because of the organizing that we did, ÓRALE and other community folks here, the Long Beach Justice Fund. And so I want to pass it over to Gabi to talk about what that is, who benefits, and how can we take advantage of that.
Yes, thank you, Maribel. And I think this is just to bring back what I was mentioning at the beginning of the video, is that, building community power and fighting for policies and organizing is really the way to go. So the reason why this is even a thing in Long Beach is because under the Trump administration, the first time around, we didn't have anything. And so we needed to join forces with other folks, other community groups that are serving immigrants to be able to fight for this. And so fast forward now, 5 years later, it's exactly what we needed. And I'm so glad that folks, organized to make this happen, because otherwise we would be in a very different situation with this new second term of Trump. And so this legal fund was advocated for community by community. And this is the city of Long Beach allocating $1.1 million to this fund to be able to provide free legal representation to folks facing deportation or dealing with any immigrant-related cases that have strong ties to Long Beach. So whether they live here, work here, or go to school here. I also want to remind folks that that program it's alive and running, and we want to support as many folks as we can. And also there's limitations, right? It can only serve so many people, and it's very restrictive when it comes to serving folks in Long Beach. And we work with folks all over the place, right? Not necessarily just in Long Beach. And so just a reminder that you can get this started in your own city, right? By organizing with your community folks and your groups, your organizations, to make this a reality for your city. So I just want to encourage you that we did it with nothing, and now we have this, right? So you can do it as well with that power, with community. And Maribel is going to put the phone number on the screen in case that you want a legal consultation or you want to talk to someone about your case, because this is the moment to prepare today, right? To know what opportunities you may have. Things may be very different from 5 years ago. And so we recommend that you talk to someone. And so Maribel just put the phone number on there. So I encourage you all, if you need any support, that you do reach out. I also want to just, remind folks that there's about 11 million folks that are undocumented here in the country. And this is, I would say, it's a conservative number. I think there's way more of us in this country, right? And so I want to remind that we can't have enough attorneys in the country to meet this need. And so because of this, I also want to encourage you to be empowered, to become knowledgeable about your case, and to know that you can really take this matter into your own hands with legal support. So you don't necessarily have to depend on an immigration attorney, but someone that it is credible and that can provide that legal support and not just an attorney, but also a community, right? To get you to the finish line, and know that you can become empowered about your own case, not necessarily always thinking about we need to have attorneys all the time, right? We know that that's not always necessarily available to everyone, but what is available to us is us becoming empowered and knowing, what our cases mean and what are the potential things that we can do. So I want to encourage everyone that don't feel disencouraged if you don't have a justice fund in your area. This is something that you can do on your own, right? And that this is also there's organizations out there that do pro se work, which means that they support you in representing yourself in court. So I just wanted to flag that to people, right, as we work towards building more of these programs. And just to wrap it up, I want to ensure that I communicate that what we're about to see under the Trump administration is a reality show. They want to put a reality show out there, right? And they want to put our faces, our community folks out there to put them as another thing that they're doing, right? So I just want to remind you that when you see that we push back, right? And that we're doing that at the local level, at every level possible, and that we tell them that it's not okay. And so just know and be prepared, but know that their narrative is not our narrative and we don't have to buy it.
Thank you, Thank you, Gabby. On the comments of the Instagram live, I have pinned the resource folder that all the resources that we've talked about will be shared in that drive. So folks, please copy that link, access it. Due to the length of these videos, it may be that they don't show up in our profile. However, they will be saved in this folder so that you can also share it with folks that may need this information. So I have pinned that link. So please make sure to check that out. If y'all have any questions, put them in the comment. We're about to, wrap up our videos pretty soon, but there are a couple of things we do want to touch base on with folks that are directly impacted. Denise, what can folks who are directly impacted, who are undocumented, what can they do right now to proactively protect themselves?
Yeah, a great thing for people to do is to plan ahead. So again, we don't want to create panic, but we also want to be prepared for something that might happen. We want to have as many tools at our disposal for that. So one thing I would suggest is attending a Know Your Rights workshop, like how Eric had mentioned, and then after doing that, also practice it with your families. If you are a family with kids, sit down with them, let them know what would be the plan of action if you weren't able to care for them in a moment. Have relationships with family, neighbors, people who can help you. And know that they're able to support you and have those plans in place. Make sure that if you do have kids, that you've shared any medical information that needs to be known, if they need medication or anything like that. So mainly be in community and in communication with those that are able to help you, especially if you are in community with people who aren't in danger of being deported. They can show up in very many different ways, but it's best to reach out to them beforehand and establish those relationships and those protocols between yourselves.
Thank you, Denise. And those family preparedness packets, there are amazing organizations that have already done the amazing work of putting these packets together. The Immigrant Legal Resource Center, I believe that's who prepared this packet. So in the folder that I have mentioned, the link that's pinned to our video, that's where you will be able to find these packets both in English and Spanish. So this folder is your ultimate resource guide that we will continue to update, and just take note of it, copy it, take a screenshot. It will have valuable information for you all. Now, there's also action steps for allies. I think this is the moment for our allies to step up, especially if you're a citizen. I think this is where the call out goes to all those citizens, folks that want to protect immigrant families. We can work hand in hand to make that a reality, right? And so I'll pass it over to Eric for us to learn, how can allies support immigrant justice in these times?
Yeah, when they say when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. So they've told us, and we're believing them. And so we're bringing back the hotline. And so we're ready for the enforcement actions. And so Maribel, if you can help me drop the link. Yeah. So we have an intake form for people who are interested, ready to help stand up for immigrants in Long Beach specifically. Don't worry about knowing how to do it yet. We will have some trainings for folks that are interested, but right now we've identified three specific ways that people can support immigrants in wake of uh, these sort of threats of like mass kill raids and workplace raids. And so the three ways are: one, ICE verification. What we saw a lot of during the Trump administration was a lot of panic. Was somebody would word of mouth an enforcement action or say that they spotted ICE at this intersection, post it. Folks want to be, their heart's in the right place. They want to make sure that people know. And so it would go viral in a couple of hours. And so before we knew it, we've created like community panic around avoiding a specific intersection. And so what we're trying to do, and which is what happened and people are still currently doing, is verify. And so when we get a report, we're reopening our hotline. When people report, hey, ICE, I see ICE on the intersection of 7th and Atlantic, we're going to be like, okay, we have dispatchers. And so this is one way you can volunteer to be a dispatcher to respond to ICE sightings, and document the sort of types of enforcement actions if anybody was picked up, etc. Another way that you can support is monetary support for bond funds. We have the Liberation Fund, which helps Long Beach residents pay for their bond fund. We know fighting your case is only half the battle. Well, it's a whole bunch of battles. Never mind, not half. Whole bunch of battles in fighting an immigration case, and one of them at the tail end is being able to pay a post bond. Not a lot of us have that kind of money lying around, and so if you have 5, 10, 20 bucks that you can donate to a fund, please, to get our folks out, help get our folks out, that would be super huge. And then lastly, pack the court, especially for migrants who may not have familial ties in the U.S. but have community ties, may or be recent arrivals. And so it's important for us to show up and pack the courts when one of our folks is fighting deportation and at risk, that we are able to show the judge and the court that that person has community support behind them. And so if you're able, again, don't worry about how to do it yet. I know that can be daunting. We will have trainings for that. But if like you hear this and you're like, yes, this is exciting, I'm down and I'm ready, please register on the form that Maribel included. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I was having a little bit of a hard time unmuting myself, but thank you. Awesome. That is really great. I have put the link to the form in our comments. After this video, you'll also find that in our profile, our Instagram profile. So you can just click and sign up as a volunteer. I think that, well, this call is specifically for citizens. We obviously don't want to send folks who are undocumented or who have a temporary status to verify ICE activity. Also, if you live in Wilmington or Long Beach area and you spot ICE somewhere, contact us. We want to make sure and verify that these sightings are verified. There are some, ICE offices near the port, but they're like just inspection or HR, if I'm not mistaken. And so we don't want to cause unnecessary panic. And so please make sure to verify that information before pushing that share button. Thank you so much, Eric. And so we're going to open it up to Q&A. There are a couple questions. And so Gabby, super briefly, if you can, go through some of these questions that folks have.
Yes, thank you, Maribel. There's a few questions in the chat, so thank you for sending those to us. I also just want to mention that this is the time to really build unity with one another and not think about like, oh, this person just arrived here yesterday. Why are they getting X, Y, and Z? Or this person has been here 20 years. Why don't they have? This is the moment to really become one and to know that to them, there's no difference. They don't know if you just arrived yesterday or if you've been here 30 years. So this is really the moment to not buy into that, because that's part of their reality show, that they want us to be against each other. So I really want to encourage folks to really see us as one. No matter when you came, they're really going to look at us all in the same way. And so we have to be unified and fighting together. So I want to make sure, because what Eric mentioned really reminded me of that. But we have a couple questions, and I want to ask the first question to Sabrina, because people are asking, like, what happens to the folks that are scared of applying for advanced parole now? What would you tell them today?
Well, first, I mean, the fear is real, right? And I think that, like, if, for example, if you were to file today, it's unlikely that your case would be adjudicated right before January 20th. I think it's a case-by-case situation. So that's why it's important for you to consult with either an attorney or an accredited representative to see if you, if it's a good option for you. So if you want to do that, I would do that like now and try to reach out to somebody to see if that's going to be an option for you from now until January 20th. I know that they don't process these immediately, so it may take a while before you hear back, which may mean that your decision will come after January 20th. And, we don't know what's going to happen on January 20th. And, the administration has said that they have a lot of plans to sign a lot of, orders, executive orders, and that this may be part of that, but we don't know.
Thank you so much, Sabrina. And then somebody also asked us, like, what are the steps to get advanced paroles? So Maribel is probably going to put, she's going to put a document on the resource folder that we're going to be sharing with folks in the comments. So what is it that you need to do to apply for that. And we had another question really related to fear. So, we also want to honor that. We hear that loud and clear, right? That our community is having fears. And we're here to say we have some of those answers and we don't have to be panicked, right? We can also together come up with some of those answers if we don't have them. So the question is, are there going to be barriers for folks to become citizens, permanent residents that are looking to apply for the citizenship and become naturalized citizens? Is there something that we know now that they should be scared of, or a reason why there will be potential barriers to that? And this question is also for Sabrina, if you're open to answering that.
Yeah, so unfortunately, right, that we saw with the first Trump administration, they had already made it harder for U.S. citizens to become a U.S. citizen. So that we expect them to do the same thing and just creating more barriers for people to actually apply for naturalization or citizenship, and just make the process a lot more complex, which they did last time. And again, they're trying to do this to prevent immigrants from becoming U.S. citizens and eventually getting the right to vote and all the rights that come with becoming a U.S. citizen. This isn't shocking, given that there's also a conversation happening in the news about that Trump wants to take away birthright citizenship, which is, another way to make it hard, very, very hard for people to become a citizen if you can't even claim you're citizen if you're born here, which was something that was decided through a federal court case over 100 years ago. So there would just need to be a lot that needs to happen for the Trump administration to accomplish that. But as far as people who are lawful permanent residents and want to apply for citizenship or naturalization, we can expect for it to be more difficult to get that benefit, just as we did with the first administration.
Thank you, Sabrina. And feel free to, we're also going to put resources for citizenship clinics that are coming up for you all to know if that's the route that you are planning to do, that we give you some of those resources. And lastly, I just want to address one last question that folks put on the chat around what does it mean when Governor Newsom says that they want to put up a front against Trump? I would say let's hold them to that. Let's hold them accountable to that, right? It's easy to say I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, but really what we have seen is that we need their policies to show us that, right? Not just their words, but their policies. And so I would just encourage us all locally, statewide, federally, that we keep those folks accountable. And when they say that they're going to do something, that they actually show up for our folks in tangible ways, right? So I would just say that as much as they're saying that we push them to ensure that they keep their word. Thank you so much. If there are more questions, please still put them on there and we'll address it by adding documentation and resources to the folder. Thank you so much.
Thank you, folks. We got each other, folks. We have it. We have the power. This is the time to come together, find that unity, and really come together to fight these anticipated, racist policies even more. Who would have thought? But it's going to be a challenging time, but we've got each other, and so Órale will be updating with any news that impacts undocumented folks. We will be sharing that on our social media. So please, if you don't already follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, we have orale.org, which is our website. We want to go ahead and make sure that y'all have access to this information. This is one of many videos to come. I want to thank folks for coming tonight. Thank you, Sabrina, Rocio, my fellow colleagues. Thank you so much for being here tonight. For those of you, still on our live, there's so much that you can do. Become a monthly donor for Órale. We need that support in order to continue our organizing, because that's what will take this information to the folks that need it the most. Those Know Your Rights workshops, those all these organizing, the organizing that needs to happen has to happen no matter what. And with your support, it will be a little bit easier. So orale.org is the website that you can go, and I'll go ahead and share that. Thank you so much, folks, for spending this evening with us. We're so happy to be able to share this information. We hope you have a great evening, and thank you so much, and see you at the next one. Thank you, folks.